Okay, hello everybody. So this is a level 3 learning target 10. I think I said learning target 9 last time. This is learning target 10, solving right triangles. Alright, so the first thing we notice, it is a 45. Number 1 is a 45 special right triangle. It's 90 degrees. One of the angles is 45. The other one has to be 45 because they must all add up to 180. Once we know this is a special right triangle, we want to be able to pay attention to which sides are supposed to be the same as each other. Now we know that y is 27 radical 3. Remember, the formula is s radical 2. These are both 27 radical 3. These are both 27 radical 3. This is 27 radical 3 times radical 2, which is 27 times radical 6. Done. This is x equals 27 radical 6. Okay, or you might be given something like this where they give you the hypotenuse. Well, remember the formula is s radical 2. This is 8, this is 8, oops, my bad. This is 8. This is 8, and we need to solve for a and b. Well, that means that this over here, 8, is equal to s radical 2. Now I have this weird, I want to get rid of this radical 2. So what I can do, I know this other side over here, if I multiply by radical 2, if I multiply both sides, I'm going to sneak this in right there. If I multiply both sides by radical 2, I'm going to get rid of radical, and it's going to be just times 2. But I don't like to write it like that. We like to write it like that, with s after the number. Then you can divide both sides by 2. Remember, whatever's inside the radical, you can do anything with another one is inside the radical. If they're not outside the radical, then you leave them outside the radical. That means that I can take 8 and 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. I leave the radical. I do whatever is inside the radical to whatever is inside the radical. If something is outside the radical, I can multiply it to something outside the radical or divide it. And there you go. S is 4 radical 2. And that means A is 4 radical 2 and B is 4 radical 2. Number 3, you might get something like this, the 30-60 special right triangle. They give you the long side. Level 3 is they give you the long side. So we have S. Remember, the key here is to find key here, we know this is a 30, 60, 90. There's the formula for it. The key here is to find S, the short side. If I can find the short side, I can find all of the other sides. But right now I have the long side. So if I can find, well, now I have 2 equals S radical 3. And remember, basically I want to do the same thing. I want to get rid of that radical 3. So if I multiply both sides by radical 3, I'm going to get 2 radical 3 equals 3s. Divide both sides by 3, and I just get 2 radical 3 over 3 equals s. I know that my hypotenuse, and this is also, by the way, that's y. I know my hypotenuse, which in this case is x, is twice as big as that. So 2 radical 3 over 3 times 2. Now that looks a little weird. Don't worry about it. Make it a fraction. Now you multiply across 4 radical 3. Again, I can multiply whatever is outside the radical to another number that is outside a radical. And in this case, now, there's your answer. You might get something like that, or you might get something like this. You have you have the long side is 6, S, L, H, S, S radical 3, 2, S. Hypotenuse is twice as big as the short side. So in this case, your 6 is S radical 3, multiply both by radical 3, 6 radical 3 equals 6 times S times 3, divide both by 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2, your S is 2 radical 3. We already know what this one is, and this one is twice as big, so it's 4 radical 3. Okay? So this was 2 radical 3, 4 radical 3. It's twice as big. And if I wanted to check, 2 radical 3 times radical 3 is 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay, that's a level 3. And then you're also going to get a trig, or make sure you know how to do trig. In a trig, they give you an angle that is not a 35 special right triangle. So once you see that and you know it's not a 30/60, you should go right to thinking, okay, SOHCAHTOA should be the first thing you write. Then you got your angle. You're going to go across. You want to label these. Remember, the one that's across from the right angle is always the hypotenuse. The one across from the angle that we're talking about is the opposite angle. And the one next to it is the adjacent angle. So the one that we are trying to find and the one that we know are O and H. That means we're going to use sine of the angle equals opposite over H. And we're going to have something like this. We need to figure out how to work that. Well, we need to solve for x. So we can cross multiply, turn it into a fraction. Once you turn it into a fraction, you can see what to do. We're going to put the x in front. Mathematicians like that. We want to now get rid of sine of 27. So remember, sine of 27 is just a number. If you type that into your calculator, you're going to get a number, decimal. This cancels out, and you take your calculator and you type in 14 divided by sine of 27 degrees, and it should give you a number. Let's see what that is. That number is 14.63859. We run around it to the nearest tenth. The nearest tenth is this number here. That means I don't want a number here. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at that number that's there. That number is closer to 0 than it is to 9. So it's going to be 14.6. I just cut it off. Okay. Number 6. Same type of thing. You've got a right triangle. You've got an angle. They're talking about this angle over here. It's a little hard to stick it in there because it's too big. So you got your 73 degrees, and you've got the opposite side is over here, the hypotenuse is over here, the adjacent is over here. This is the one you know, this is the one you're trying to find. SOHCAHTOA. We have A and H. That means we're going to take cosine of 73 degrees equals AX over 15. Turn it into a fraction. You've got 15 cosine of 73, and this one we don't have to do anything but type it into the calculator. You're going to get 15 cosine 73. Make sure your calculator's in degrees. You should get, oh no, I just got a negative number, which means my other one is probably wrong too. Alright, so let's put this one back in degree mode. There we go. 14 divided by sine of 27 is 30.833. 30.837. We want to knock it off to here, so we're going to just cancel those off. Gotta make sure it's in degree mode. My bad. 15 cosine of 73. 15 cosine of 73. I got a negative number, that's how I knew. Some students were telling me, Miss, I keep getting a negative number. Yeah, that's a dead giveaway that you are in radians. We want to knock it off to the 10th. That means this number is the number I look at. This number is closer to 8, 9, 10 going up, so it's closer to 4 than it is to 3, so 4.4. Okay, I'm going to skip the next one. The next one is tangent. It's the same idea. Find the measure. Now, this time we're trying to find the angle measurement. If you look at the notes that we just had before, if you're trying to find an angle measurement, that means you need to do the inverse sine or inverse cosine or inverse tangent. How do you know which one? Well, this is the angle we're talking about. This is the side that's opposite. This is the side. See, I do the same exact thing. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, don't know where to go, but oh, wait a minute. What if I write O and H? I've got this one and this one. I write so, because that was the same thing I did before, so why not try it? We have O and H. So it's sine. Remember, it's a sine of the measure of the angle, but we don't know the measure of the angle is opposite over h. Since it's sine, and this is what we're trying to find, and this is what we know. They give us both of those. What if I go backwards, like multiplication and division are the inverses of each other? So instead of doing the sine, I'm going to take this, but I'm going to make sure I'm put them in parentheses. So I got sine inverse, and I've got 0.6. Now here's the cool thing. Oops. Here's the cool thing is this is just a calculator problem. This is going to give me the angle measurement. Sine inverse of 6 over 24. Now you needed to type in inverse. It depends on the calculator. Sometimes it has inverse and you have to actually type it. Sometimes there's a second function. So yeah, if you have trouble with this, let me know if you're not getting these answers. Alright, the answer should be 14.4775 to the nearest degree. So that means I do not want any decimals. 14.4, so I'm going to look over here. 14.4 is closer to 14 than it is to 15. It is 14 degrees. I could do it again actually and find this degree measurement. I should be able to find, honestly, 180 minus 104. This should turn out to be 76 degrees. I could do it again using cosine with the same angle, cosine inverse, and I should get 76 degrees. And that's about it. That's what you should be able to know how to do for level 3.